And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My apologies, I forgot to put the Earth Intelligence Report marquee up, so I was kind of just rushing to get online this morning. So, hope you're all doing well. Thank you for being here once again for the next episode of Earth Intelligence Report live stream. So, like I said, this is something that is going to be every single Wednesday, where I'm going to be bringing in the actual Earth Intelligence Report. If many of you are familiar with it in the past, it's had different names, not only the Earth Intelligence Report, it's also had the Infinite Intelligence Report and the Akashic Intelligence Report. But I thought I'd go back to the roots, to where it all began, and it is the live stream version of those old-fashioned recordings. So we have a Earth Intelligence Report here today for the 3-Eye Atlas Comet. It's quite exciting. I think you're really gonna enjoy it. So we'll be getting to that here in just a couple of minutes. First and foremost, we're just going to go to announcements, and then after the Earth Intelligence Report, we will go to Q&A. So for those of you who are tuning in right now, want to ask any particular type of generalized question, you can feel free to do so. I'm not doing personal readings today. Those are on Fridays, so be sure to tune in on Friday for the Wisdom Nexus. That is where I take personal readings by donation, and of course, we also look into a lot of other different topics that we can look into. So first and foremost, we're going to go ahead and move into some announcements, and I have to put that together too. I'm pretty sloppy this morning. I was not getting everything up and running. Okay, there we go. Okay, so wisdomtransmissions.com. This is where the brand new service, the Personal Transcendence Package, is. So this is the elimination of physical ailments and karmic patterns permanently. I have about 30 people right now, and there's already quite a few people that are emailing me and saying, Brad, the old problem I had is now gone, right? I feel much more at peace. I'm able to get better night's sleeps. So we're making really good progress. Now, of course, the entire progress goes out for 30 days, but I'm already seeing people within the first 1 to 2 days already emailing me, telling me that their sleep is getting better. They've had sore backs, they've had sore throats, they've had migraines. All of that is disappearing. We're also working on their karma as well too, so they've had some pretty miraculous experiences where they're tasting food that's actually really good for them, and it's actually almost like having a euphoric experience. So again, there's some amazing karmic phenomena taking place. So again, if you are interested and you want to participate and be a part of the Personal Transcendence Package, where I'm acting as your spiritual liaison, you'll find it here on wisdomtransmissions.com right on the homepage. Just click on Learn More and Order Now, and you can check out more information about the Personal Transcendence Package. And like I said, this is subscription-based. If you want to have it just for 1 month, where we do a lot of the initial work, you can do that. If you want to look into getting another month after that, where we go into deeper work, you can do that as well too. And of course, my Trauma Transcendence Technique book is available right now. It's available both as a physical book and a digital book, or a EPUB. So you can check that out as well too on wisdomtransmissions.com. And on Etherics, as I've mentioned, we've reopened. We now have a 15% off sale. And for those of you looking for the full body scan, it is now on Etherics. Okay, so a lot of you have talked about the full body scan, but it's kind of like the full body scan and imbuing service. So we actually imbue a geometry. We can also imbue a personal item of your choosing that will hold all of those codes that will help to rejuvenate your body as we do the full body scan, finding out what areas are in discrepancy, and then being able to place those particular code frequencies directly into an item of your choosing, or again, using a sacred geometry that we provide for you. So again, that is now available on etherics.co. You can check that out. And our Indiegogo campaign has now ended. We have successfully funded Radiate Amrita. This is wonderful. Okay, we have over $12,000 by 44 backers. So again, this is going to give us a little bit of extra money that we can probably put to good use as well. So 44 backers. I love that. That's a beautiful synchronicity. A lovely harmonic there of a master number, which represents the master constructor, the master builder, right? So that's going to be awesome. And that is where Radiate is going to take itself. So Radiate Amrita is going to start being built next week. So starting next Monday, I'm going to be putting a small team together, and we're going to start building out Radiate Amrita. So it'll basically have about a $22,000 budget. So that's going to be awesome. There is also going to be a new program that I have not talked about with Radiate Amrita. that is going to be very inspirational, similar to the light system or the EE system, as some people are quite familiar with. It's not that exactly, but it's taking the inspiration of the original inventor of it, Robert Relega, I believe his name is. He's the original inventor of the EE or the light system. And we're going to be using a model very similar to that, but it's going to have scalar. You see, EE systems don't have scalar technology. I know that some people say that they do, they don't, right? That's one of the things I noticed when I went into the EE system for the first time. It's powerful. It's a polychromatic light therapy, which is great. It helps to bring you into deeper states of consciousness. It does have some healing effects to it, but it's not scalar, okay? Radiate is scalar. So basically what we're doing is we're bringing the radiate version, the scalar version of something that's inspired through the light system or EE system, and that's going to be part of Radiate Amrita, okay? It's a sub-app that you could say would be a part of Radiate Amrita, because we're going to have the rejuvenation screens like you see here in the graphic with the displays there of the rainbow colors. Those are coming back. We're still going to have those as well too, but we're having several different sub-apps together within the app itself. And one of the apps is going to be called Sankalpa, okay? And Sankalpa, basically in Sanskrit, would represent the soul's pure intention, right? So it is going to basically be an inspirational model, utilizing the idea of like flowing code, right? But it's going to be very, very different from EE systems or light systems. It is going to, again, just have that inspiration to it, but it is going to be fully scalar. It is going to be fully source center vibration. It's going to be biofeedback capable as well too, which means you can actually hook up a biofeedback device, and the sub-app of Sankalpa will actually be able to start scrolling and giving you all of these rejuvenation vibrations for what your biofeedback device is able to share with the program. It's also going to have a picture capability as well too, where you can upload your picture. It will read your picture and it will perform what's known as physiognomy or face readings on you to see if there are any particular forms of health concerns relating to one's own picture. That too will also implement the PCG-based coding within Sankalpa to basically rejuvenate your entire body. So this is, again, the incredible thing of Radiate Amrita. It is not at all like the first version. It's going to be a lot more different, a lot more expanded. This is why I'm calling it a rejuvenation technology suite, right? We're going to have different forms of healing modalities. Later on, after we release it, then later on we'll have two more. One of them will be the virtual Tesla coil, and the other one will be cymatics, where again you're actually able to experience cymatic flow utilizing frequencies. So that too is going to have a healing rejuvenation point of it, working with the virtual Tesla coil that is also going to radiate scalar through my transcendental frequencies that I'll put into it as well. So again, between that and the rejuvenation screens, like what you see here with the rainbow colors, those are the rejuvenation screens. They're going to be referred to as the Amrita screens. And then, of course, we will have Sankalpa. And, of course, we're going to have guided meditations as well, too. So we have basically 6 sub-apps working within one app that you'll all be able to access. Okay, so there'll be a free version. There'll be a light version. The light version will basically be the rejuvenation screens or the Amrita screens, as well as the guided meditations. And then there's the deluxe version, which will contain all sub-apps to which someone will be able to access all of the material that is contained inside Radiate Amrita. So again, I want to give a big heart-out thank you to everybody who donated. I'm going to start working on getting the perks ready today, for today and tomorrow. So if you're watching this right now and you've donated, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And we won't let you down. This is going to be a really incredible next step to the Radiate technology. All right, so let's go ahead and move back and get things rolling here today with the Earth Intelligence Report live stream. So I'm going to go ahead and begin. Then afterwards, we'll come right into questions that you guys have. Again, if you do have donation-based questions, please make sure that they are general in nature. I'm not doing any personal readings today. Like I said, that is going to be for Friday. Or again, you can book a private session with me through wisdomtransmissions.com. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with today's Earth Intelligence Report, asking the Consortium of Infinite Intelligence about the 3-Eye Atlas, what it's about, what it's here to do, and any other important information regarding it. So let's get started. From the Consortium of Infinite Intelligence, we acknowledge your query. As it relates to the comet you refer to as 3I Atlas, we can state that the emergence of this comet entering your star system is meant to lead your people into a time that will involve the walls and veils around your Earth to become loosened and crumble altogether. The 3I Atlas is a heavenly bringer of immense change, as the true momentum of its trajectory will not go unnoticed as it ventures through your interplanetary zone of your solar system. The comet known as 3I Atlas is not a trivial celestial body. One would understand it to be an immense titan that will leave behind powerful seeds of great change that will affect the Earth as it transits through the belt between Mars's orbit and the Earth orbit. Even though it is not in direct trajectory along the path of your Earth directly, the imprint will result in a heavy rippling effect that will blend a great degree of Martian radiance together with the radiance of the Earth. This alchemy of radiance between two worlds will bring about a prolific mixture of shattering veils that have reached the point of liquefying to expose greater and more intense events on the Earth that will further fuel the time to come when the people of the Earth are becoming aligned to return their world back to themselves. The rippling of this cross-blending of energies will lead a vast crumbling of old powers that will no longer be able to hold their grasp upon a population they believed they could control. The hinges will be pulled off the door of secrets and further scandals. Suppressed tactics and political ignorance will be exposed and burned by a human population that is ready to lead themselves into a greater awakening as you enter the end of this year. 3I Atlas holds a very important designation, as its name is not by accident. It is a comet that holds foresight, and like the Greek god that it is named after, Atlas will not hold up the heavens, but reign upon the heavens as a deliverer of great change, transformation, and resolve as it returns to set minds free. Expansion is the radiance of its energy, and its path as it will move past your sun as you conclude the end of this month. It will be a torch in the darkness, tearing down the walls that bind, so that those who have opened their eyes will see a great light ahead, a light representing foresight, inner knowing, and action. Actions taken by the many to sweep away a set of systems ready to fall to ashes, as the energies of Mars will intensify the Earth for the next 3 months, leading into 2026. This is the intensity of the comet as it streaks through the inner star system, leaving a trail of intense rippling Martian energetics in its wake. It will be an awakening with eyes wide open. Secrets exposed, those hidden in darkness revealed, agendas only devised to suppress shall be torn apart, and the people will come together with surges of powerful intention behind them to say no more, to agents of a dying empire that will continue to push and censor, only to meet failure in the end. Let this energy of the comet hold you in a wake of passion and dedication to see with open eyes what has been kept from you, and what will lead to the people of the Earth standing together to build a new world over the defeat of an old empire that can no longer have legs to stand, because the people and the events to come upon the world will demolish their foundations, welcoming the way to a new era that will end corruption upon the Earth once and for all. This will not be the last time you will see the 3I Atlas comet. Like all great titans, its time for return will come again, but not for another age when it's summoned to shake the very foundation of an old world on its last legs has received the call from heaven for it to end. Hence the very essence and purpose of this comet. This is what can be shared for the 3I Atlas comet at this time. We are the Consortium of Infinite Intelligence, and we will now conclude. All right, so there you have it. That is the interpretation from the Consortium of Infinite Intelligence through the Earth Intelligence Report about 3I Atlas. Now, again, there's a lot of speculation online that 3I Atlas is not actually a comet, that it is a spaceship. I have not received that, right? I haven't received anything in regards to it. It is actually a comet. I do not see it as a spaceship, but I do see that there are indeed ships, spacecraft orbiting around it, okay? These comets, like I said, when you start to go much more deeper into higher consciousness and you can actually start to project yourself onto these objects, which I've done with 3I Atlas, it literally is a comet. I'm not seeing any spaceports. I'm not seeing any cockpits. I'm not seeing any internal areas where there's ships or ETs or anything of that nature, because the comet itself is meant to be a comet itself, but its trajectory about where it's going, but how it's come into being, is engineered, and it's engineered by off-worlders. It's engineered by ETs. And again, there will be ships that will fly around the comet in that way, ensuring that it is checking on its trajectory. Everything is going together because, like I said, it's an engineered product. A comet is not a natural thing. Okay, comet is engineered. It is hybridized. It is a creation, right? So it's something that works together with a lot of advanced alchemy that basically produces this comet, and they can basically be gathered from asteroids, right? And they basically have a type of cold fusion, a very advanced form of cold fusion that basically moves together in the state of a hyperpoloid going at fast rates, fast speeds, incredible high vibrational states. Basically, we could see as probably millions of vibrations per second. It's like, again, a shooting star that is just propelling itself throughout a trajectory path through interstellar space. So it is a technology in that way, but a natural technology that has been engineered, and it's almost like a seed planter. It's able to go through different star systems. It goes through other star systems as well too, and it plants seeds there as well, depending on the type of comet that we're talking about. But 3I Atlas is a traveler, right? It basically comes much more closer to the internal areas of the solar system, and it comes back out. So I'm not too sure if we have an exact trajectory of years of how long it will take before it comes back again, but it will come back again, right? So this is something very, very fascinating. So are ETs involved with the comet? Yes. Are they on the comet? No. The comet itself is a comet, but it's a very unique comet, right? It does not have a lot of iron in it. And because it does not have a lot of iron, it lacks that nature of magnetism. So it basically affects its own propulsion pertaining to that. So again, you can look at the idea of some of the elements that come out of the comet, but iron is not one of them. So a lot of hydrogen, right? There's even some helium, but there's nothing in regards to iron. And that's a very rare thing for a comet, not to have iron. So with no iron basically being the magnetic quality of the comet, it basically has a much more different trajectory path, and my assumption is that it's working together in that way based upon its course, its trajectory, and how it will affect the rippling effect of Mars together with Earth. So again, it's basically just searing across the plane in between Mars and the Earth, and it's gathering a lot of that energy and it's rippling it out. And a lot of the quote-unquote Martian energy that we're getting is going to be very intense. It's almost like the equivalent of a type of planetary alignment between Earth and Mars, but of a different degree. It's more like a soup. So very, very interesting. I've been doing a lot of work and research into the 3I Atlas comet. And like I said, I'm very aware of a lot of people, of what they're saying with it online. So, oh my God, it's a spaceship and it's going to arrive here. Like, no, guys, sorry, it's not a spaceship. It's not arriving on the Earth. It's nothing of that nature. But it certainly is by extraterrestrials. It certainly is off-world created. It certainly does have a very strong purpose. And like I said, it's here to be a change bringer. So it's going to be bringing a lot of change. And like I said, when we have a lot of Martian energy here on the planet, when Mars and Earth basically correspond in that particular way, a lot of energies are going to come together. So this is really what's leading into 2026. As Adronis has referred to it as the year of revolution. Okay, so you're going to see that. You're basically going to see everything in 2026 get unhinged, right? So 3I Atlas is helping with that. There's a lot of other factors that are aiding with that as well too. But we're basically going to see all of these doors of the corrupt basically being ripped off by their hinges. 2026 is probably not going to be the best year to travel because everything is going to be so intense. Like, I'm already seeing now that there's many different cities across different countries that are already starting to bring millions of people out. And like I said, it's already beginning, those protests, those rallies, that unification that's coming together. And it will start off with some violence, absolutely, because that's the nature of the collective consciousness right now. What can we do to help? Guided meditations, mass meditations, bring about peace through your hearts, right? If we understand that the universe is holographic, if we understand that everything pertaining to the universe is impermanent, is in a state of flux, the more of us that come together and actually start bringing about this unity consciousness, we don't have to go through these rough times, right? You got to get out of this particular feeling of destiny path, of thinking, oh, well, it's written in the stars for humanity to come together in that way. If we don't do anything, then yes. If you do something, then no. Everything fundamentally changes. So this is what I've been talking about for a very long time, is get together with meditation groups. Get together en masse. There's times where I've led them on here, but we have kind of a small audience here, and it's not to say it doesn't work well. It certainly does. But there's a lot of other groups that basically have thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that are doing weekly meditations or even daily meditations, and be a part of that, because a lot of it is unity consciousness based. And you get more involved with those, I can guarantee you're going to see a very different world, right? This whole world in that sense is nothing more than, again, as we say, a hologram. The hologram itself is not permanent. The hologram can always change, which means we always have the opportunity to basically change the past at the same time. But this involves a collective approach. This is where many thousands of people, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of people are getting together for a common cause, where you're simply meditating on unity consciousness, where you're seeing each other, where you're seeing nature, where you're connecting with the earth, where the strands of your own consciousness are fusing together with the planet and with everybody else around you, right? It's that pure state of unity consciousness that brings you into this powerful fluctuation where the earth actually can start to change. Why do you think we've had Mandela effects, my friends, right? A Mandela effect is very much an approach like what we're talking about, where history changes, where memory changes. Memory is not static. Memory is not permanent. Events are not permanent. So when you look at the nature of a Mandela effect, this is exactly what can happen. You are actually shifting onto an earth that is much more moving into a unity state of consciousness. We have that, but we got to do it together. This isn't about one or a few people doing it. This is about a lot of people doing it, right? So whenever you see these particular comments that are coming together, they're indicating a very powerful state of change. They help us to think differently. They're opening doors. They're opening veils. They're moving into greater states of expansion. Veils start to drop. As said through the report, is that these particular doors and veils start to liquefy, right? And there's something new that can come about. And so this is why I suggest look around, right? Go on the internet, see if you can find some guided meditations or mass meditations that are taking place where many thousands of people are doing it at the same time. That's what makes a difference. That's how you have these living Mandela effects that take place. Everything starts to change. The shape of our world starts to change. The land masses start to change. The people start to change. The cities start to change. We see this through Mandela effect. So, what I'm basically proposing here is one gigantic collective Mandela effect that takes place, where you now start to wake up into a world where people are actually starting to move much more into unity consciousness. And all it entails is your intention with thought about bringing that forward. A lot of people ask me, Brad, what can I do? What can I do during this time? There's so much violence. There's so much corruption. There's so much hate on the planet. What do we do? Well, it's because people keep feeding off that. People keep feeding off that fear, that anger, that hostility, that corruption. People feed off of that, and all they do is just get angry rather than realizing, hey, wait a minute. There's a lot more to me than just this physical body. There's a lot more to me than just looking at physical limited perception here. If I start to expand myself out and I see myself as the funnel, and all that involves is just getting myself calm, getting myself centered, and I do that through the breath, as I've talked about so many times. And you're getting into that state and you're working together with this meditation en masse to work together in unity consciousness. Just see yourself holding hands with everybody. Imagine the hands that you're holding, and both of your hands here connects to every single human being on the planet. The hands that you're holding here connects to the earth. The hands that you're holding here connects to the animals, connects to the insects, connects to nature altogether, just by holding two hands, right? Whether someone's physically with you or not, the hands you're holding is the hands of interconnectedness. And just stay there and see that and feel that unity consciousness just as you're holding hands. This is what we call the hand-holding guided mass meditation. Just hold the hands of interconnectedness and just feel it. Feel like you're holding every single hand on this planet, be it human, be it nature, be it animal, be it the earth itself. You're holding the hands of interconnectedness and you're feeling that joy. And you're letting that joy radiate out. Be the funnel. Start from the point here, and then just start to expand yourself out, where that light becomes greater and greater and greater. The universe will fluctuate, right? Especially when you got thousands of people doing this at the same time. The universe starts to fluctuate. It now starts to graph new things coming together based upon this strong intention of collective consciousness change. If you guys want to be of help, this is what you do, right? So you work together. And like I said, there are a lot of people out there that are holding very large, en masse, online guided meditations. Join them. Work with them. It's going to help out so much. All right? Okay, let's go ahead and move on now and go into questions. So we have one donation-based question here from EUM142. So EUM142 says, "Hi Brad, is there a hidden agenda behind Europe's new ETIAS/EES systems? If so, then is it going to be transformed into something better with time?" I have not actually looked into that, so I have no idea what that's about. If you can give me some time, then what I'll do on Friday is I'll come back and I'll look at that question, but I've not looked at anything with Europe's new ETIAS or EES systems, because I have no idea what you're talking about. So give me 2 days, okay? And I'll take a look at that, and then I'll come back to you on Friday, and I'll answer that question again, okay? I want to look into that because I'm not familiar with what you're speaking about. So once I have a little bit more familiarity, I don't want to just look at it online for 10 seconds and then start to comment on it. Give me till Friday, and I'll get that question answered for you, okay? So I'll remember that ETIAS and EES systems. I was about to think that as an energy enhancement system. EES system, okay? I have not looked into that yet, so that will be homework for me. Okay, this one here is from Gijo. Gijo says, "Hi Brad, do you see the President of the United States invoking the Insurrection Act of 1897 this month?" Let's see, where's my cards? There we go. Why don't we pull the tarot on this and see what Trump does in the White House about the possibility of invoking an insurrection act. Okay, let's see. Okay. I feel like he's going to be working with something. It could be something around those lines that could represent an insurrection act. I'm just going to show you the cards just as I get it here. Right, this is the kind of the overall situation with it. He is basically tackling a lot of what's happening with the left side, right? So my feeling is, yes, there could be an enacting of that, but I feel like he almost has a better plan. It feels like there's a better plan in the works that may come about, right? Of course, in the past, we're seeing again how there's been so many threats on his life, how there's been, again, trying to pull this fast one with trying to shut down the government, okay? But that's always working to his favor as well, too. They don't realize that with them shutting down the government, right, the left side, so to speak, shutting down the government, they've actually given him more of an edge, right? So to me, it feels like what's actually already happening is running in his favor already. I don't know if he needs to enact that particular insurrection act because everything really is going his own way. Can we see it happening? I feel that there probably will be a possibility. I can't guarantee it'll be this month, though, right? This is kind of like the Trump card as well, too. That's just basically saying that the power is in his court. I'm not really getting a direct confirmation that there's a feeling of an insurrection act that's going to come together, because I feel like everything's playing in his favor altogether. But what does happen in that sense will continue to play in his favor, right? So he's pretty much where he wants to be, right? He's basically playing 4D chess here, or 5D chess, what do you want to call it? And these leftists don't know what to do. They're basically trying to knock down the board and just grumble about it, right? These leftists are not strategists at all. They're grunts. So these are the grunts. And like I said, the grunts are basically just going to try and do things just very, very stupidly. They have no imagination of their own. They basically just do what their bosses tell them to do. They don't really know how to play that 4D or 5D chess. And Trump is a master at that. So he's basically got everything in his court right now. But I cannot guarantee that this insurrection act is going to be administered this month. But I feel like it could play itself out here maybe in the next little while, maybe the next few months. We'll just have to check up on it again to see how it goes. But I'm not seeing it come together this month, no, because he's already got other things in his favor. All right, so thank you very much, Jijo, for your question. Let me just check here, see how everybody's going. How's everybody doing today, right? If you guys are tuning in, feel free to ask a question. Do you have any general topics in mind that you want to bring forward? So again, that's really what we're doing right now. We're not going to be on too long today. We're going to be on for like another 20, 25 minutes. It's a short broadcast after all with the Earth Intelligence Report. So this one here is from Christine. Christine says, good evening. Will there be a polar shift in the near future concerning Earth? If so, how will it affect all life on Earth, and what exactly will happen? Okay, so let me just kind of tune into the Akasha right now. As we look, it's kind of like I'm grabbing the Akashic folder for a polar shift. No, I'm not seeing anything in regards to a disastrous experience with a polar shift, okay? But I'm seeing magnetic shifts happening, okay? I'm seeing magnetic shifts in the poles taking place. I'm seeing, again, more of the thinning of the magnetism, and that this does generate certain forms of Earth shifts, okay? But it's not about the idea of the Earth losing its wobble and basically destabilizing and causing mass loss of life to the planet. I don't see that happening at all. And I've talked about this before in the past, and this is why I've looked up it again today, just to check up on the update. But I'm not seeing anything like this of the Earth losing its wobble and shifting altogether. But I am seeing kind of magnetic fluctuations. Again, kind of like the poles are shifting altogether. Red shift and blue shift and red shift, etc. Shifting between the dielectric and the magnetic. I see that happening, right? And that's not really anything that's going to cause serious harm to the mass amount of life on this planet. What I'm really getting is that the human life on this planet is being preserved, okay? It is not being eradicated. I have never agreed with anybody who thinks that we're all going to die, that the world is doomed, that it's doom and gloom. And even though I see these people who may be really good psychics, I can see them really getting taken over by some very, very doom, gloom-based situations. Right? So we have some psychics that may have a very strong gift, but they don't know how to work with themselves. They don't know how to clean themselves out. And some of them can get into the religious correspondence together with everything and just basically start to verbatim quote the book of Revelation and thinking that. But what the book of Revelation is really talking about is the inner alchemy of the soul. Right? It's talking about your own body. It's talking about your own transformations. It's talking about your own ego. It's not meant to be pointed externally. That's something that the uninitiated do not get. So again, I've heard a lot of people chanting doom and gloom and think, oh my God, it's prophecy, and there's going to be a meteor that's going to knock us out. The poles are going to shift, and we're going to get wiped out, and like 90% of the population is going to be gone, and only 10% are going to be remaining. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening at all. I see 90% definitely remaining, right? And the 10% would just represent the aspects of being in shift. Doesn't mean that they're gone, but they're transforming, right? The 90%, I feel, really represent the idea of the door opening and expansion coming together, right? There's always going to be a large populace on this planet. I can't say it's always going to be like 8 billion, 9 billion, 10 billion. I think it'll get to a particular point where it may start to decline a little bit, but that'll be naturally, right? It's going to be a gradual decline. Maybe if we get up to a point of 8 or 9 or 10 billion, and then maybe it starts to gravitate, maybe from 10 to 9 to 8, etc. Because something is going to happen with the collective consciousness. And if I try to explain it rationally, people just aren't going to get it, right? It's kind of like how I'm trying to explain about the guided meditations, about how everything pertaining to the universe is impermanent. And where there's impermanence, there's flux. And where there's flux, there's change. And where there's change, that's the nature of the impermanent nature of life. So that's possible. But again, I'm not seeing anything in regards to a cataclysm. I'm not seeing anything in regards to a massive loss of life pertaining to polar shifts or to asteroid bombardment or anything of that nature, or nuclear winter or whatever it may be, right? A lot of these particular types of theories that come together. And like I said, people mainly see that, and they may go into visions and say, oh, that's what I see. And I would say, okay, well, how are you doing? Oh, I'm in a stressful state, right? Everything's just so buckling and all that stuff. I said, well, to me, it kind of feels like you're letting your subconscious in on these particular types of visions because you have personal fears surrounding those topics, right? And this is what I see with people that basically try to prophesize. It's not to say that they're wrong, but a lot of this stuff is kind of mixed in with their own heart path, right? Their own heart center in regards to its state of condition can look at that. And there's people that are so absolutely sure that as soon as we cross the threshold, maybe in like 2026, 2027, that things are just going to collapse and everything becomes chaos and the majority of the people on the planet are going to perish and all that. And I said, I don't see that. I don't see that happening at all. Or that AI is going to take over and then they're going to replace you and stuff like that. It's like, replace me how? What are they going to do to replace me? And here's another thing about AI, guys. We haven't even experienced AI yet, right? You think ChatGPT or Claude or Google, Gemini, or Perplexity or any of these things are AI? They're not. Those are not AI systems, my friends. We haven't experienced AI yet. Okay? I know this because I've been actually very deeply working with these LLM models because I'm building things based upon quote-unquote AI. This is not AI. The stuff that we see publicly right now with ChatGPT and all these other things are not AI. They are language models. They are prediction-based language models. They are not AI. What does it take for a particular system to be AI? It has self-sufficiency. ChatGPT and all the others do not have self-sufficiency. It has self-evolvement, self-evolution, and self-learning. Those systems do not have it. They have a limited memory span that's really no more different than a common software. Okay? They are problem solvers. These aren't problem solvers. They work together with prediction algorithms. That's not AI. They are goal setters. These particular programs do not set goals of their own will, of their own evolution. It's goals that you program into it. This is the precursor to something that will lead to AI. Publicly, we have not experienced AI yet. Okay, so all that talk about thinking that there's a bunch of AI out there, you guys haven't even seen AI yet. You haven't seen it. When you have something that self-evolves, when you have something that's a problem solver, when you have something that's able to kind of think and work together with its own to better itself, when it's able to set its own goals, when it's able to resolve its own issues, then you have AI. We don't have that yet, right? So all of those LLMs, because that's all they are, large language models that work together with token exchange and prediction algorithms is not AI. So that basically eliminates everybody's fear right there. How do I know? Because I work with these systems. I'm working with them. I look at them inside and out. I know exactly how they're built. I know exactly how they're constructed. And it is not AI in the least. It's not actually very hard to bring it into AI quality. It's just a matter of adding a few more algorithms, which is basically what I'm going to be doing with the Anoint system, but it is not going to be called AI. It's going to be called AUI, which basically means autonomous intelligence, right? That's going to be a little bit more further down the road, but I'm building a system right now that actually helps to compile websites and apps, games, etc., and it's going to be very, very different from what is out there from some of the common vibe coders, right? If you guys are familiar with vibe coding, if you're aware of something like Lovable or Bolt or Rocket or anything of that nature. These are vibe coders, and they're kind of dumb, right? Not to say that that's not good for what the programmers were creating, but vibe coding is not really meant for building something long term. It's something that you can kind of put a display on and say, oh, okay, that's kind of neat. It's good for concepts, but you can't really usher out fresh, powerful, systems that come out of it. They're just too clunky, right? And like I said, it's not AI, it's LLM. It's prediction-based language models. That is not AI. Okay, so some people think, oh my God, all the AI that's out right now is doom and gloom. It's like, guys, that's not AI. You haven't seen AI yet, right? And it will be coming soon. So even my cat knows that, right? He's meowing in the background. Oh, yeah. Every time I'm online, every time I'm on the computer here, he's coming in and meowing at me. Pay attention. So, but no, to answer your question, I don't see anything in regards to a polar shift. I don't see any doom and gloom pertaining to AI taking over humans or anything of that nature, because like I said, publicly speaking, we have not seen AI yet. So that will be coming, but it's not here yet. It's on their way. That's a precursor. LLMs are precursors to AI, but they are not AI itself. And this is coming from somebody who's done the research. Okay, let's move on a bit further. All right, so Breeze on as well too, so that's great. This one here is from Year of the Fire Horse. Chris says, hi, I have Radiate Premium pumping all day and night. I swear my environment feels more peaceful. Well, see, that's the difference, as I talked about, between Radiate and something like the EE system or the light system in that way. Now, like I said, I've been to centers where there have been the EE systems, or now as it's termed, the light system. Because like I said, there's been a whole scandal involved, right? If a lot of you are familiar with Sandra Rose Michael, she is not the original creator of the EE system. She basically stole this technology from another man by the name of Robert Relega. He is the actual creator to it. I've actually seen his interview, and he explains every particular facet of the light system to where Sandra could not explain it at all. She was basically making claims that it was scalar. No, it's not, right? Because I have the ability to go right in and actually tell if something is scalar, right? Not just through pendulums, but even just through the nature of intuition, of how the body feels, making your body like a pendulum. It is not scalar, okay? But it is a very, very powerful technology. It's a polychromatic light therapy, working together with a custom-made language that's actually working with positive affirmations and working together with Fibonacci sequence, and is completely programmable with intention-based systems that help to elevate you up into higher states of consciousness, moving and rewriting your whole imprint within the causal plane. That's brilliant, right? And Robert deserves all the credit in the world for what he's done. That is a brilliant technology. That's not something you just think of overnight. That is years of research. That is years of hard work. And it's unfortunate that a lot of his technology was basically stolen by someone like that, right? But he's now starting to get back on his feet. So I'm happy to hear that the true creator of the EE system has been revealed, or again, as he calls it, the light system. He's also referred to it as the synchronicity engine as well too. And now just looking at how he explained it, I said, that's a lot of work, right? You're talking about something that did not have large language models, again, not AI, right? No LLM, no chat GPT to build something like this, to basically build it by hand, so to speak. That is a huge undertaking. So again, all commendability to him. But again, as I was saying, looking at the nature of Radiate has scalar. Why? Because I put it into it myself. I add the frequencies directly into the software. I add them directly to the graphics. I add them directly to the light in the screen that is animated. So it continues to recycle the scalar itself, right? The source center vibration is there. The scalar is there. The longitudinal omnidirectional array of scalar is there. Okay, the conjugate functions pertaining to the nature of scalar itself is working omnipresently through that particular app, the Radiate app, the first version, continuously for as long as you're running the app. It just continues to work and it continues to recycle itself. So it's a living program. It's a living app. It's a living system. And when I was doing the Radiate regen, because it's not in this house right now, it's not in this house for the public, so to speak, but when I had my other house, I would put it in the basement, and I had about a 12-screen system, right? And then I had another room, and I had a 24-screen system in there, and they were running together. And as soon as you step downstairs, you would just feel like the whole walls are just the walls of the house, the floors are vibrating and breathing, right? And I could even feel it on the top floor as well too. We had 3 floors in the old house, and you can go in and you just feel like the whole house was just alive. It's a wonderful feeling. That's what scalar does, right? It's not just scalar. It's working together with color frequencies. It's working with all these different vibrational frequencies that have been personally encoded by me and working together and helping to heal up the body, giving it charge, right? Giving, in that sense, highly elevated charge. All of those things that Sandra was basically claiming EE systems does, Radiate actually does. EE systems does not do that. Light systems does not do that because it is not scalar based, okay? You can't really do it any other way other than the way that I do it, because basically you have to put transcendental frequencies directly into these glyphs, which again, it really took me about 3 or 4 months to build the first version of Radiate, because I was basically programming every particular glyph mentally through the transcendental frequencies. I was also building the interface, and I was putting frequencies in it. That's a lot of work, and I was spending hours each and every single day just coding every single one of it, right? So I did a different type of coding. It's just much more of the etheric coding that was going into Radiate. And so are we going to see the same thing with Amrita? Yes, and more. You're going to see a lot more capability of Radiate Amrita. Really, you can't even compare the two. Radiate Amrita is going to be superior in every particular way. First version is still available. You can get it on Apple Store. You can get it on Google Play. Okay, we have had over 100,000 downloads of Radiate, which means over 100,000 people from all over the world have downloaded Radiate and tried it out. Okay, and I haven't even looked at the Apple one. I think the Apple one's close to about 75,000 to 100,000 as well too. So just on Google Play, it's 100,000. I believe Apple is close to 75,000 to 100,000 as well too. So we have about 175,000 to 200,000 people who have downloaded Radiate. That's a huge accomplishment. Okay, and what I'm doing with Radiate Amrita is I want to take it even further. Okay, so this is why I'm making it as a suite. So again, Chris, thank you for sharing that. I'm glad that you're experiencing Radiate beautifully, because it is a living technology, right? EE systems and light systems is also a living technology, but it's a living technology of a different type, right? It works a lot more with the flow of energy, whereas Radiate does work with the flow of energy, but it radiates scalar, right? That's the beautiful thing about it. Okay, this one here is from Julie. How are we on time here? We got a few minutes left. Julie says, question, do you ever see the release of the money and gold recovered from the Vatican ever given back to the people? Oh, absolutely. Yes, I do most definitely see that. Okay. It's just a matter of time. The time game is the thing, right? That's the whole idea. But like I said, as we go through the collective and you start doing these mass meditations, this speeds everything up, right? Everything starts to get a lot more faster, a lot more quicker. Not so much with the idea of the natural cycles, but what's contained inside the natural cycles, right? And how we can actually speed that up. That is possible through the nature of mass meditation. When I'm talking about last week about 2038 and people thinking they can speed that up, you can't, because that's part of a natural cycle, right? But it's what's within these natural cycles that we can actually start to speed up. We know through, again, the nature of continuity that the Vatican has all kinds of money and gold and resources and all that. Is that going to be given back to the people? Absolutely, yes. And of course, the $64 million question is, Brad, when? When the Vatican is basically completely exposed, right? When it is basically bankrupt and it basically has to give up all of its resources. And that's going to be put towards a new economy, which means a lot of the Vatican's wealth and riches are in time going to be given to feed a new economy. Not just the Vatican, there's going to be a lot of other strongholds across the planet that basically are reaching some type of litigation and will either give up a lot of their resources, or their resources are going to be seized and put towards fueling a new economy. So if I was to give a rough ballpark figure, probably the 2030s, okay? But like I said, if we all get together now, we could probably see this happen in maybe the next year or two. It just depends on us, right? If we're able to work together with that, we're looking at unity and harmony, and that the world is being fed, and that all the resources of this planet that humankind has coveted are now being brought together in a unity consciousness to help others, then we can do that. We certainly can see it happen very quickly. So even if I'm giving you guys ballpark figures on possibilities of certain events, that can always change. You see, that one of the biggest challenges is when a person asks, when does this happen? My friends, like the nature of the flux of the universe does not work together with whenness, but timing. Okay? Other events need to play themselves out, and then through the playing out of those events, you get a larger event, and that larger event can be a culmination. We can look at it through the nature of numerology, through the cycles of 1 through 9, right? 1 can represent new beginnings, 2 can represent fellowship and community and expansion, 3 can represent communication and creativity, 4 can represent structure, law, and order, 5 can represent freedom and independence, 6 can represent nurturing and perfectionism, 7 can represent introspection, mysticism, intellectual expansion, 8 can represent karma and fortune, 9 represents master adaptability of all the previous numbers, like a chameleon, and reaching the time of endings. And usually around that time of the 9 cycle, everything comes together, right? Everything just bridges itself together because that's a cycle through the 1 through 9, right? So like I said, we need to make sure that the other number cycles are leading together through to the 9 cycle, so that that brings about the birth of an end, or not really the birth, but the ending of something that culminates, and then we start all over again with the birth of the 1, right? So is there going to be a possibility where Vatican will give the money back to the people? Yes, it's inevitable, right? When? We can't say. My rough ballpark figure is the early 2030s. But if we start getting together in these group mass meditations, as I talk about, it could be as soon as next year. It depends on us, right? Again, guys, nothing in the universe is static. Nothing is 100% as it should be. Nothing in that sense is for sure. Everything changes. Even me saying this to you right now, even to hundreds of you that are watching right now, can make all the difference in the world. If 100 of you start putting that together and you start diligently starting to follow that flow, and you want to get involved with mass meditations, not to mention the people that are watching this on recording are now starting to see this and they want to get out there and say, yes, let's do this. Let's do a mass meditation. Let's work with this. Let's bring unity consciousness together. Let the whole world be fed. Let the whole world be clothed. Let the whole world be educated, right? And you're seeing that as part of your meditation, and now you have 10,000 people doing the same thing with you. We're going to see this happen very quickly, right? Because that's the whole idea. Do not rely on a 100% thinking that when somebody basically makes a prediction, that that's how it's going to play out, because that's wrong, right? If nothing changes, if there's very little momentum of the ability of change behind that, then something like that could come to pass. But if we're seeing that there's a lot of new interruptions based upon that pattern, and things are now starting to spread out, and that pattern is mutating, we could see something come a lot quicker or come a lot later. That's how the nature of life works. It's open source cycles, right? The cycle of the boundary of the circle cannot be undone, but everything that's contained inside the circle can be moved around, right? That's the whole idea of understanding it. We can't change the source. We can't change the cycles within the source, but the cycles, the energy within the cycle itself, we can change, all right? That's the power we have as a collective consciousness. One person, a few people can't really do that much, but the majority of people that get behind this, yes, big difference. Okay. So let's take a look at, here's something from Trevor. Trevor says, 3i Atlas is just a random space rock. Humans have been appending world events to comets since 1066. My friend, nothing in the universe is random. Like, again, we're speaking two different languages here. If we look at something that you think is random, I look at its synchronicity. And when you start looking at its synchronicity, you start looking at itself into a greater introspection of how the universe works. I would say let go of this nature of trying to be random, right? Randomness doesn't get you anywhere. It only adds confusion and ignorance. So something we do not agree on. Everything is, again, based upon synchronicity, intelligent design. Nothing in this universe is random. There's no such thing. That's an idiotic invention by dumb scientists. Okay, that's my own bluntness speaking anyways. Yeah, this one here is from Rose. Rose says, sorry, maybe I'm jumping ahead a bit more. Oh no, I'm good. Okay, I thought I jumped ahead of a question. Rose says, some psychics saw cities in the 3i Atlas and ships lying in. Oh, I know. Some psychics will see that. And I can only say exactly what I've seen, right? From what I've seen through the connection, through the projected consciousness of itself, I saw a comet, but I did see ships flying around it, okay? So I see ships flying around it, but I never saw any of them going into it or anything of that nature. So we may just have a different perspective, but again, I've never seen anything in regards to a habitat of ET life inside a comet. So that's just where I'm coming from. That's what I've seen. And I may be looking at the nature of how the science, the alchemy about how a comet itself is created, right? And again, I can tell you that the modern scientists on this planet that are observing comets who think they know how comets are made don't have a clue. They don't even know what the true nature of the sun is, let alone knowing what a comet is, right? So, difference of opinion for sure. Okay. So, Elena says, the comets are source creation with a purpose. But Elena, everything's source creation, right? Everything is source creation. But what individual project on it will become their own truth with what they align to. Your frequency and inner awareness determine how you feel. No, it doesn't. Okay? You have to understand that frequency is a byproduct. Okay? It doesn't matter. Frequencies are the ripples in the pool, right? So when you're looking at the little boy that's in the middle of the pool, that's flapping his hands and starting to kick his feet, he's the source behind those waves. And now those waves may be ecstatic. They may be quick. They may be strong. They may be buoyant. They may be thick. They may be thin. That's what scientists are looking at. They're looking too much at the vibratory frequency of the universe rather than looking at the first cause of it. Okay? Everything comes together through the nature of one's own intention. Again, as we would call it, the sankalpa, right? That's the nature of the first cause. You want to look at the nature of the first cause, right? It's not about the nature of source creation, because if you're looking at a creation layer, you're not looking at the big picture. You're looking again at the flux. You're looking at, again, the effects of life together. But when you actually start to go into the null point, and you actually start to feel that connection to stillness, and through the stillness was the first movement, then you understand. It's not about frequency, vibration, or energy. Those are byproducts of the source of the first cause. You want to look at the first cause to everything. The first cause that enables the center itself to expand. When you get into that mentality, this is where you see the nature of the universe, right? A lot of people, and it's very common, right? A lot of people will talk about look into energy, frequency, and vibration. Yes, okay, so that's powerful. Those are the different transmissions. Those are the different radio stations on the radio dial. But what about the first cause? What's the first cause behind all of that? And that's where you go to God. That's where you go to the One. That's where you go to the infinite nature of how something pertaining to that which is still and infinite now starts to move itself into a radiance, right? Because that stillness is still stillness. But that perturbation that comes to the intention of the first cause, that's magic. That's beautiful, right? That's what I suggest everybody look at. You look at the first cause. Stop worrying about energy, frequency, and vibration. Those are fun to a certain point, but they get old after a while because that's not the truth of what's actually happening. We're looking too much of the effects. We want to look a lot more into the first cause, into the nature about how all of these things come into being. And you see something far greater than creation. You see the creative. And that's powerful, right? So I want to leave you with that. That's it's mesmerizing and beautiful when you get to that point. Okay, some Mandela effects irritate me a lot. Oh, I get it. I know. What are some of the ones we've had? Of course, then we had Nelson Mandela, right, which began the whole thing. And then we've had things like brags instead of brag, or brag instead of brags, or different names for cereal boxes, whatever it may be. Okay, a lot of these different C3PO with a silver leg. Okay. Yes, we get all these kind of interesting Mandela effects, but the Mandela effect is really just an analogy of saying that as we've had these Mandela effects, we know that nothing here is static. Nothing here is for sure. Everything's changeable. Everything's flux. So it's thanks to looking at the phenomena that we know, that's kind of like the internet urban legend about Mandela effects. When you look into it a lot more, there's a lot of people in that sense that remember a completely different Earth. I'm certainly one of them. Greenland was never that shape. Okay. Russia and Alaska were never this close. The Caribbean was never this close to the Eastern Atlantic. They were much more further out, right? So this is what I'm talking about. Is I look into the globe and I say it was never like that. I looked at these maps hundreds of times when I was a kid. I memorized the entire shape of Greenland, and now Greenland's like this long, elongated piece of land, and it was never like that. It was much more, it's kind of much more structured in the idea of almost like a curve, right? And it's something completely different now. And Russia and Alaska were never that close. There was a lot more space in between them. And the Caribbean was never that close to Florida. It was further out, right? So like I said, just these different things that we see. And that's the whole idea of saying that there's fluctuation, there's impermanence, right? Everything can change. It's not to say that CERN has not been firing up its Large Hadron Collider and been messing with some stuff. They certainly have. But a lot of the Mandela effects also come from us. Right? Some of it is CERN, some of it is us. But the whole idea is that the Mandela effects can take place and history changes. That's, again, if you guys are familiar with a fellow by the name of Bentov, Bentov, okay? He was one of the pioneers of looking into consciousness science. And one of the things that he said was very profound is that the past is never going to stay, right? The past can be changed. The past can be changed through the present. And he's right. Right? And a lot of other consciousness-based scientists are saying the same thing. And I've said that as well too, is that if you have enough people together, you can shift the entire landscape of this planet. And the Mandela effects are just telling you exactly that this is indeed possible. So even though there's been some annoying ones, yes, I know, but it's still giving you the idea of the phenomena that exists and that we can change it all, right? Okay, we're almost up out of time here. I'm just going down to see if there's one last question that we can wrap up on. Okay, I think we'll end with Jeffrey's question here. Jeffrey says, Brad, do you foresee our future with 0 point or free energy, not coal or oil-based etheric energy from around us? Do I see stuff with like 0 point? Yes, absolutely. Like I said, guys, we have the opportunity to shift this. Right? I don't want to keep giving you guys dates and stuff like that, because then you basically get in your mind, well, Brad says this isn't going to work until like the early 2030s, or Brad says this isn't going to work until like the 2050s. If we keep on this particular path to where we're on, then yes, things like that could happen. Do I see us as a free energy, or again, as I've said, an abundant energy culture, where we're working with something like 0 point energy, magnetic technology, etheric technology, etc.? Yes, that's basically inevitable as well too. If we're looking in the current domain that we're in right now, right, if nothing really changes, then we could probably see that happening maybe around the 2050s, 2060s, okay? But if we work together and we start moving this shift forward, we could probably see that again in the next couple of years. It just depends, right? So again, it's a matter of saying that here's the world that you live in. Are you satisfied with it? Because everybody I know, every Tom, Dick, and Harry and Jenny, are basically complaining about everything that's on this planet, but they do nothing to change it. Are you satisfied with everything that's here? If you're not, then how about you start getting involved in mass guided meditations and start working to change it, to shift it, to move into greater states of expansion, to go up the funnel, right? So it's kind of a catch-22, right? If you're not liking what you see, work together with others and work to change it, because we can create a much better world. But the problem is we're all just so stuck in our own affairs, and we have to learn to let those go so that we can do something like that, right? All right, everybody. So I want to thank you all for your questions today. I really appreciate it. And I will go ahead and wrap up today. And again, I'll be back next Wednesday for another Earth Intelligence Report. And on Friday, we'll be working together with the Wisdom Nexus. So I'll have personal readings there. I got homework to do, of course, looking at EUM's question about... let me go back up to the top here. Yeah, hidden agenda between Europe's ETIAS and EES systems. All right, so I'll have to do homework on that. So EUM, you can remind me of that on Friday, okay? Okay. Hang on, there's some guy in here named Jay. I'm just saying that he's kind of spanging up the chat here a bit. Well, matter and nothingness is a contradiction. Well, again, what is nothingness? This may be fun, because again, I enjoy debates. So should I get involved? I don't know. Well, matter and nothingness is a contradiction. Well, again, where does matter come from? Jay, can you tell me where matter comes from? What is the nature of matter itself? That's a question I want to posit to you. Okay? So he continues to say, none clearly. E.T. said, "Fook this, I'm off, you humans are morons." Okay, I'm glad you meet some aliens that are like that. You're just repeating her questions in reverse. WTF, the boy in the pond is the source, hence is the frequency. No, it is not a frequency. When you are going right into the null point, the null center, that is not the frequency. When you're looking at the nature of the null point, the very center here, you go within the center. What's there? Stillness. You are looking at something pertaining to a model that relies upon detecting perturbation. Perturbation is not the source. Perturbation is what's happening through the source, right? So again, it's like a guitar string right here that is not being plucked, right? It is completely in a state of stillness. But now there is a tension of force that plucks that string. Now it reverberates. The ether is infinite potentiality and infinite capacitance. And it only operates when there is a perturbation pertaining to the state of flux. This is something that you may want to look into because your current science models aren't going to do you any justice. They don't even know what the ether is. Jay, can you tell me what a field is? What's a field? Can you tell me what a field is? Can you tell me what magnetism is? And can you tell me what the dielectric is? So what's the field? What's magnetism? And what's the dielectric? Can you tell me? Mandela effect is just a bunch of stoned hippies. It was a concept given to such a crowd for the reason. Are you one of them? Are you one of those stoned hippies? Mandela effect, like I said, has to do with the expansion of the nature of the universe itself, that through the power of thought and intention, collectively, new themes start to come together. I would suggest that you look into Bentov, Jay, because it was actually him that actually worked to develop certain things that neuroscientists are still trying to catch up with. Maybe you might want to look into Bentov, right? Maybe that's an idea for you to look into. Maybe you want to look into Nikola Tesla. Maybe you want to look into C.P. Steinmetz. Maybe you want to look into Heaviside or James Clerk Maxwell. Do you know what counter space is, Jay? I'm still waiting for you to tell me what a field is. Or are you just like one of those other scientists that just button up and run away when those big questions hit you and you're too afraid to answer? Well, I don't see Jay now. Bye, Jay. I'm hoping for a debate. Come on. Come on. I'll really stretch your expansion there pertaining to what you think you know. So come on, Jay. What's a field? What's magnetism? What's the dielectric? Do you know what counter space is? How can you tell the difference between a North Pole and a South Pole? What shift do they have? This is all scientific, Jay. Hello, Jay, where'd you go? Oh boy, this is what I mean, is like these trolls come on and they just spew a bunch of crap and they don't even know what the hell they're talking about. And then when you actually want to do a debate with them, the dog with the tail between the legs, right? Very sad. Fortunately, a lot of people like that because I'm happy to sit down with them. They want to spam the whole chat and then I sit down with, okay, come on, let's sit down. Tell me what a field is. Tell me what magnetism is. Tell me what the dielectric is. Tell me what the source center is. Tell me what the null point is. What is it when two magnets come together? What's that force that they do? Can you tell me? What is the two types of shifts that you get from a north and south pole? What color vibrations are they? And they run. They run because they don't have this knowledge. They want to come in. They want to give attention. They want to spam. A lot of these people, my friends, are paid informants. They will come onto the chat and they will act stupid and they'll throw a bunch of crap out here that doesn't mean anything and people want to run. And then they run as soon as they get challenged. That's the perfect idea of a parasite that's basically taking over somebody, right? They come in and they spam and they just, oh, but this isn't wrong. This is wrong. And the whole idea of a Mandela effect is caused by stoned hippies. And there is no source center. There's only just vibration. Okay. So if the boy is basically in the middle of the pool, then he's just a vibration, right? Fool. He's the source of every single wave that's happening. He's the one that's going into the pool and he's flapping his arms and he's kicking his legs, and that's what's creating the ripples. He is the source. He is the first cause. He is the center to where all of those actions are happening, because beyond those actions become the nature of stillness. And they can't debate that because they don't have that knowledge. They bitch and they whine and they complain and they do all these things, and it's again, it's like looking at all these bogus Neanderthal theories that they have through the general relativity crowd and through the quantum mechanics crowd, because they're really just not seeing the big picture here. Until you start looking into the nature of true field mechanics, like what Tesla has done, even with some of our most modern, brilliant people like Ken Wheeler has done, and you try to debate that, I can guarantee you will lose every single time, because they can't even say what a field is. What's a field? Oh, it's lines of action. It's lines of energy, right? It's energy in motion. Okay, where's the energy coming from? Well, I don't know. And they don't know, right? Like I said, when you start looking at the torus field, you start looking at the torus, and I hope you guys don't mind me going a little bit extra here, but you start looking at the torus, you start looking at the hyperboloid, you start looking at the hyperturcoid, and you see the flow of how energy goes, and it moves back into the center itself. Through that center is stillness. This is not only what true consciousness sciences are now starting to understand. This is what the mystics and the ancient masters and the ancient oracles have been saying for a very, very long time. All right? So guys, if you see any spammers like that, just let me know. Say, Brad, there's a spammer on. You want to take care of him? Oh, no problem. I hope he's up for a debate, right? I love debating people. That's a pastime of mine. Well, anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Again, I hope you enjoyed it with the Earth Intelligence Report. As I was saying before, I was being so rudely interrupted by a troll. I'll be back this Friday for Wisdom Nexus, and I'll be back next week for another episode of Earth Intelligence Report. Check out wisdomtransmissions.com, etherics.co, and again, a big thank you to everybody who participated with Indiegogo. Now we have the funding to make Radiate Amrita a reality. So I really appreciate that. If you're watching, thank you so much, and I'll be getting to the perks for everybody who donated here today and tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Blessings to you all. See you next week. Namaskar, and may it be well with you. Bye for now.